All right, in this video, we are going to be graphing from standard form. So we're really used to graphing when we have y equals something. So that is why we talked about how to solve for y. So let's look at this first equation, 5x minus 3y equals 9. In order to graph it, we're going to do our very first step, which we already talked about, solving for y. So let's take, let me get a skinnier pen. Let's take that equation, and we are going to solve for y. Our first step to solve for y is to subtract 5x on both sides of that equation. So giving us negative 3y equals, and we can't do 9 minus 5x, so I'm going to leave it exactly like it says. And then to get rid of that negative 3, I'm going to divide by negative 3 on both sides of my equation. So that leaves me with y equals 9 divided by negative 3 gives us negative 3. And then if you need to use the calculator, don't be scared to do so. Negative 5 divided by negative 3. We type it in our calculator, and we don't want a decimal, so let's hit math, enter, enter, and we get positive 5 over 3. And don't forget the x on the end of that equation. So now that we have it saying y equals, we can say our slope, our m, and our y-intercept, which is b. Now remember, your slope is always the number next to the x. So in this case, our slope is 5 over 3. And our b is always the number all by itself. So b is negative 3. So let's take that to the graph. We always begin on the y-axis, and our b is negative 3. So our first dot is going on negative 3. And we are going to count our slope. So from that point, we are going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and right 3. And let's continue that as we go across our graph. Go up 5 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and right 3, and make your next stop. I would normally continue that, but it looks like if I keep going up 1, 2, 3, I run out of graph. So I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to go down 5, left 3. All right, so I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, left 3. And that makes all the points I possibly can make on my graph. So I'm going to connect my dots and put arrows on the end of my graph. All right, let's try that again on the next example. Our next one is x plus 2y equals 6. So again, our first step, we are going to solve for y. And if you want, we know that this is a 1x. So if you want to put that 1 in front of the x, please do so if that helps you out. So to solve for y, we're always going to move the x first. So since it's a positive 1x, I'm going to subtract 1x on both sides, leaving me with 2y equals, and I don't know what 6 minus 1x is. I can't put those together, so I'm going to leave it 6 minus 1x. Then to get rid of that 2, I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides of my equation. So that's going to leave me with y equals now what we were looking for. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then let's use our calculator if we need to. Negative 1 divided by 2 is a decimal, so I'm going to hit math, enter, enter. So it is a minus 1 over 2 since it was negative 1/2 in our calculator. And don't forget that x on the end. All right, so now that I found that, I can say what my m and my b are, my slope and my y-intercept. My slope in this equation, my m, is going to be right next to the x, which is that negative 1/2. And I would put that negative with the top number if you're confused by where that negative goes when you do your up and down and your right and left. And my b is the number all by itself, which is positive 3. So on my graph, I'm going to begin on the y-axis at +3. And I'm going to count my slope. Since it was -1, I'm going to go down 1, and +2 would be right 2. So down 1, right 2. Continue that across your graph as best you can. Down 1, right 2, until you run out of graph. Now that we've graphed all the points we possibly can, we're going to do the opposite. We are going to go up 1, left 2, up 1, left 2, and continue that again until you run out of graph. Now that we have all our points on our graph that we possibly can make, we are going to connect our line and put arrows on the ends. All right, let's try another example on this last one. Let's start off again by solving for y. So x minus 2y equals -6. So our first step is always to move the x. So since it was a -4x, I'm going to add 4x to both sides. So -2y equals -6 plus 4x. Can't put those together. Now to get rid of that -2, I'm going to divide by -2 on both sides of my equation, leaving me with y equals, use your calculator if you need to, -6 divided by -2 gives me a +3. 4 divided by -2 gives us a -2. And don't forget that x on the end. So now that we have that, we can identify our slope and our y-intercept, m and b. In this case, our m is right in front of that x, which is -2. And we've talked about a lot, we like our slope to be a fraction. Since this is not a fraction, we know that it is divided by a +1. All right, then our b is that number all by itself, which is +3. So let's take that to the graph and see what it looks like. So we're going to start on our y-axis. Our b is 3, so we're going to begin at +3. And our slope is -2 over +1. So we're going to go down 2 and right 1. Do that as much as you possibly can until you run out of graph. Down 2, right 1. All right, now that we have all our dots, we are going to go the other direction. Instead of down 2, right 1, we are going to go up 2, left 1, as far as you possibly can. Once you have all your dots, let's connect them and put arrows on the ends. Good job today. Try the Delta Math assignment that goes along with this under Unit 2, Graphing Standard Form.